What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Mortgage Heroes Podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Brian.
I'm Will.
So today, guys, we're going to talk about housing inventory. Inventory has surged and buyer leverage grows. I'm not sure that I agree with the leverage part. I think that's maybe downstream another half a step or a step and a half from the whole inventory part. U.S. active listings are up 28.9% year over year, approaching post-pandemic highs, which in of itself is a little bit of an asterisk on the whole thing. So, I mean, what do you guys make of this? Listing days, days on market starting to get a little longer. Are you nervous? Are you okay? What's going on?
I feel the power has shifted, but I don't know if people are really catching on to it. So I feel that, we're still in that limbo stage of like what's going to happen. Obviously, everything's pointing that we'll have more inventory, 29% year over year, which means there's going to be, less competition because there's more inventory, but we're not really seeing the buyers show up. I've been having a lot more approvals, but still not really that feeling where it's like it's a buyer's market. They're out shopping, they're negotiating strong, but they're definitely out there. And I do feel that, back from a couple of weeks or even a few months, there's a lot more demand coming on.
No, absolutely. Inventory is up, but why, guys? What's the reason behind all of this, right? It's like sellers are just like, it's a trending thing right now. We're in the summer. They want to put their house on the market right now because they understand that summer's the best time, especially now that the year's almost over. I can't believe I'm saying that, but here comes October, here comes November, the seasonal times. People will have the tendency of wanting to get into their home prior to that. And so, the inventory is up, which is a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. We're starting to see good numbers, pre-pandemic numbers, which is a very positive thing for first-time home buyers and our veterans.
So now the traditional thought track here would be, oh, well, with this much inventory on the market now, prices should be plummeting, but they're not. Even the annual price growth has slowed, but it hasn't stopped. It's still in the positive territory, even if it's just by 0.2%. So what do you guys make of that? How do you explain that house prices have, let's say, I'm going to say flattened, just to make the conversation a little more easy. Okay, let's just say they've flattened. That means they're not like diving off a cliff and they're not going up a hill. So if they've flattened and we have 29% more inventory this year than last year, what gives in the math?
What gives in the math is, excuse me. So still what we're starting to see is we're seeing the flattening. We're starting to see still more buyers just kind of playing the sidelines. And that's just because affordability is still not at its best. We're still seeing the rates in the 6.5%, 7%. So therefore, that's just creating a little bit of a hesitation for buyers to allow them to get into these properties. And then we're also seeing unrealistic sellers, right? Where they're pricing their home more emotionally and not just really going with what the price of the home should be. And, once they're in the market for 2-3 weeks, they realize, well, maybe I need to reconsider where I'm at. And then they'll just want to drop it by 10,000. Sometimes the best approach to do is to really drop it down. And so we're starting to see a lot of price drops, more so now than we did the past years because of that. We're having a lot of emotional sellers just put their home based on emotions.
So my question to you about the price drop comment is this happening from your perspective? Is this happening before it goes to escrow? Or are you saying you're starting to see this show up in appraisals where the comps are actually now lower than they were maybe 6 months ago?
We're not really seeing appraisal issues, Andy, because the sellers are putting the price drops prior to. You won't enter escrow if your price of your home is too high, unless it's a very unique property. They think the buyer thinks they're getting a good deal, or they're really in love with that property. Then they'll enter escrow, and then the appraisal will come up. And at that point in time, the appraisal may drop it. We either get with Tidewater with a VA appraisal, or we'll just get try to renegotiate the terms and conditions.
And I know the question I'm asking.
Yeah.
I wanted to get your perspective on it because it's one thing if people are dropping their list price. It's another if we're seeing that the comps are starting to come in lower. There's the kind of the before and the after. And so I wanted to make sure it's clear for anyone who's like kind of catching this conversation now. Maybe they haven't been thinking about buying a home in the last 6 months or 12 months, but they're finding us today and looking at summer 2025, looking at fall 25, and then winter 25. I wanted you to know, like from the front lines, this is where the pricing is happening. It's happening before escrow. It's not happening during. We're not seeing a lot of price drops after the appraisal comes in, that kind of thing.
As a matter of fact, we had like maybe, I'm going to say like probably 8 appraisals just come back in this last couple of days. And I've seen where we're in that because we're nationwide. So that's the great thing about it is we have files right now in Hawaii, Tennessee, Florida. And we actually seen in some of these states where the value came in $10,000 to $30,000 higher. We did have one in Arizona.
That one, yeah.
But it wasn't such a big drop. It was 9,000.
9,000. But the comps, to go back to what he said about the comps weren't really there to really support that price. I mean, we were hoping for that price range.
Got it.
But that was going to be like best case scenario because everything was relatively in the 370 range around that price. We were trying to get at 380. They came in at 371. But the price range around there wasn't, I feel, for it to be 380, which was not surprising. We wanted it because we were asking for seller credits. But to Will's point, the house is being sold under an emotional price because he has another acre being sold along with that property. So therefore he feels he can, add, more to that price. It was about 30, 40,000 over the price range that we were looking to buy it at just because, there's an extra acre.
And in this case, the seller was the owner.
Yes.
Which is, the seller was the owner.
The seller.
Hello.
No, I know.
I know exactly what you mean.
So the seller is actually the listing agent. He's representing himself. So
Yeah.
I want to just clarify that.
Yeah.
But the seller was the owner. That's good.
Hey, no, it's
For
unique.
sure, though. That is true.
You know what's unique about every home in the market right now? The owners are the
seller's
ones
owner,
selling
yeah.
it. I love it. You guys, I love these little moments that we have.
But so that's the case, and in this case, it was a VA, so we have to go back, hit Tidewater. They have a time where they can support it with their comparables. We did see something that the appraiser mentioned on the report that we've never seen before. I've never seen this. And pretty much he stated that the value did not come in because of the seller concessions. So we're like, what?
Yeah, that was very,
interesting.
very interesting.
Never seen that
Never
ever.
seen that.
So talk about that.
So if the value came in at 380, right? The property is being sold at 380 and they gave them $10,000 in seller credit. The appraiser felt like because you gave that credit, the value's not at 380, it should be 371.
So even the appraiser now is kind of weighing in on the net value of it commensurate to the closing cost credit or the concessions.
That was in this case.
So on the flip side, if we move over to Hawaii, we did the exact same thing. We were asking for $20,000 in credit. We wanted the house to come in at 980 value, and the value came in. So just at two different price ranges completely.
Interesting.
You would think that the higher price range would not come in at the value because you're trying to force a higher value at a higher price point. But it came in.
Yeah.
So it just really depends on where you're at.
Exactly. So no, I think a lot of the price reductions has been happening and the sluggishness of buyers getting into the market. Again, it's that fear of the tariffs happening, the fear of inflation, right? If the tariffs come in, there's the inflation, interest rates are still in the 6.5%, 7%. It kind of puts people on the fence. Can I really afford that? And then we're seeing all these government jobs that people are losing at the same time. It really puts people even more in the fence of just thinking about, am I making the right move?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like a lot of buyers right now are cautious but curious, and that's more or less, the mindset that they're shifting over to, where they know they want to buy, they know that, they have to make a move, but why are they still hesitant? Yeah. Affordability, the uncertainty in the market, and rates are still, been holding steady, and we've had a lot of, back and forth of saying, hey, rates are going to come down. We expect them to come down, but Jerome Powell's holding his ground, and we're yet to see if he's going to budge. Yeah. And I think that's still, a lot of people are weighing in on when a rate's going to drop.
That's the best one. Jerome Powell, great news. He's not out until 2026, but I guess he wants to get out.
May of 2026.
Yeah.
That's when his term's out. But
yeah. But I think he wants to just be done by September is what they're saying. So
I don't know. I mean, based on his most recent interaction that's making the social media hits,
I'm not going anywhere.
It seems, oh man, I don't know. That situation seems to me, for as much as I've followed the Fed since the collapse of all these years ago up until now, I think I'm just more, I'm gonna say it's like surprised and appalled at the same time at like the behavior and treatment back and forth between the president and the Fed. It's just interesting to me. I'm like, wow, I don't think I've seen it this aggressive, overtly aggressive, and audibly as often and as frequent and as like, I'll say vitriolic as I have right now. Not to say I like or dislike Jerome Powell or like or dislike Trump. It's like, I've just never seen those two people in those chairs go at it like they have.
I mean, everything's history right
it's
now.
crazy.
History in the making, right?
Yeah, I know.
Right now with everything that's going on. I mean,
Trump
it's
showed
just,
up
it's
into
just
his
crazy.
house.
So do you guys think that buyers actually have more leverage now in the market, or
Absolutely.
no?
There's a power shift for sure, and buyers are gaining leverage in some counties, in some states, not all of them. Like I said, we're approved in Tennessee. I have 2 transactions in Tennessee, one where, and they're pretty distant from one another. I want to say maybe about 10, 15 miles away from one another. One, I noticed that the properties are just being sold, just you price it right, it's just going to go. The other one, it's like, yeah, no, we'll go ahead and give you closing cost, and, we'll stick with the 30-day, 45-day escrows. We'll extend the inspection contingency periods, which is something we really rarely hear. Everybody wants your contingency to be removed right away. So we're starting to see that, but again, it really depends on the area where you're purchasing, the county, the city. It's very specific. Where we see more inventory in those areas, we see the tendency of getting where there's better leverage for the buyer.
I'm going to take a different approach on that. I feel that a lot of the buyers that are aggressively out there, that have clarity in what they're looking for and know that they're able to negotiate, those are the people that are going to be winning in this market, because they can really go with the confidence and say, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want. If I don't get it, I'm going to try somewhere else, and continuously follow that pattern until they get what they want, instead of saying, hey, can I get this? Like, you have to be very certain. And I feel the people that have that certainty right now, and they're out buying and they're prepared, they have good income, they have credit, they have sufficient savings, those are the people that are in the driver's seat right now as buyers, I feel.
I'm going to go with that. I'm going to kind of disagree. It really depends, where you're at. We're here in San Diego, and we place offers. My client has a 780 mid FICO score. He's putting $630,000 on $990,000 purchase, and he was not winning. He wanted closing costs, and they weren't giving him. They were giving him no leverage, and they wanted him to close within 14 days. And he's like, wait a minute, I just can't do it that quick.
Yeah, maybe so, but that's why I love real estate, because I feel like it depends where you're at, and it could go different for every different transaction.
So let me ask you guys then, what risks do you think sellers are running by, I don't want to say playing games, that seems too vague, but what are some of the inherent risks of this kind of behavior of the market that might be making sellers... no, not making. Hold on. What I'm really trying to find out is what risks, now that there's so much inventory involved, and you're saying there's a power shift happening, what risks are there to sellers?
The risk is that they're not going to close on time. If they are already in escrow, and we see a lot of that happening, is that there's dual escrows. There is a domino effect with things. So the fact that they don't close on time, or they don't get a buyer, and I'm actually going through one right now with my boy Ricky. He has a property in Washington. He was in escrow. And then the buyers fell out of escrow, and now he's trying to buy in Texas, and he has to pretty much, he's VA, so we have to release his VA entitlement. In this case, the good thing is he has going to have enough entitlement to purchase with the second subsequently, right? And put a little bit of 5% down in order to meet the 25% difference of what the VA requires. But he's stressed now. I'm going to have 2 payments. Am I really going to have 2 payments? Should I reconsider of just lowering down my purchase price in Washington? So it becomes stressful. So it's very important that sellers strategically price their home based on the actual comparables there's in the area, not emotionally. That's what's getting them into the situations where that's what's causing the bigger issue for them.
Yeah, I'm right in line with that one. It's sellers. It's not 2021 anymore. You have to price to the market that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Meaning that you have to give credits if, credits are being able to be given. You have to offer the right concessions and just make the house appealing to the buyer that's going to, want to go in there. So I think that's the biggest key right now.
Yeah,
You're
and their
right
agents, excuse me, real estate agents play a huge role in this.
Huge.
They have to really communicate with their sellers in giving them options, making them aware of certain incentives that can provide, like buying down your interest rate. For the buyer, builders do this. Yeah. They offer incentives like solar on the property or seller credits to go towards your closing costs. So those are the kind of things that a listing agent should have that conversation with their seller. Hey, let's buy down. Let's put on the remarks. Seller willing to provide seller credits, with the right offer. We can go ahead and provide, 2-1 buy downs. If your payment's one of the issues, and we already see that interest rates may go down, we can help you for that for the next year or 2 years with the 2-1 buy down. So we really have to start strategizing those situations.
And I was just coming back to what I said earlier. I think you hit it right on the head, nail on the head. Was your agent really matters, because when I talked about the mindset, your agent almost has to be your coach along with your lender and let you know, like, hey, these are the decision that is going to benefit you and put you in the position that you want. I know you want things to look this way, but based on this situation, this is going to be the best route for you so that you could get to your goals. And sometimes it's having that tough conversation with your client. I know, Will, you do it all the time, telling them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And that goes such a long way in this market right now, because we're in the internet, and on your phone you can find anything that fits your mindset and your belief. When you get told, like, hey, no, but this is why, and this is how we're going to get to where you want to be. It's almost like, okay, yeah, I'm not the professional here. Let me trust the people that are guiding me and let them take me to the victory.
And here's the thing. It's not that I'm stuck in my own ways. The way I feel about it and the way we conduct business is, there's such a thing as order takers. You already know what you want. You want that cheeseburger without onions or whatever it is. Like, you already know that's a good order take. But when you're just doing order taking and you work with somebody where you're making getting into the largest debt of your life, I don't know that you're required to have an order taker and just say, okay, that's what you want, let me go. I think you want somebody that's going to be in the trench, that actually owns properties already, that's going to have an investment mindset where they're going to put you in a position where I understand where you're at and I understand your fears, but let me show you why you should be more at ease. And these are the options that we're able to provide in order to get you and your family to the right place.
So that's a really key point. And it's more of the advisor role than the order taker role. Yeah, and I think that more often than not, the mortgage loan officer role has looked like an order taker role. The realtor order taker. But no, we're advising people